Hey, you guys, welcome to Talk About It Thursdays. I am your host, Karen Bailey. Let me know when you guys are on. I would love to say hello to you. Happy Thursday, everybody. Happy pre Friday. We've got another week under our belt, you guys. We just got to hang on in there until the weekend. You guys, I hope you enjoyed our last topic, which was, wanting more in 24. That's how we started out this year, talking about we want more. We want better than what we had in 2023. So let's continue that vibe and let's just focus on bettering ourselves. This month I really wanted to talk about the things that really make us who we are and how we can improve on those things, because nobody's got it all together. None of us, are where we need to be. Thank God we're all better than we used to be, and I pray that that's everybody's testimony, but we all, hey Pam, we all have areas in our life that we need to improve, and that will be the way it is until the end of time. Nobody gets it 100% right, but that's okay. We're human. The only perfect person that ever walked this earth was Jesus. So let's work on being that better person, being that person that's growing, that's maturing, that's going to the next level each year. So that was last week's more in 24. And I just want to see people happier. That is my goal, to put information out there that can help make all of our lives better. Because everything that I give y'all, I apply it to my own life. And I thank God for that, because he keeps me accountable that way. Because it's not, I can't come on here every week and say the stuff I say to you if I'm not putting that in my own life, because it's helping me to grow. It's helping me to be better as well. So you guys, I'm going to go ahead and get started. Those of you that hop on late, just catch on and watch it later. Our topic today is what you don't understand can hurt you. A lot of times people would say, it was a colloquialism that said, ignorance is bliss. But I don't believe that. I believe that you make better decisions. I believe you make better choices. I believe you can move in the right direction when you understand what you're dealing with, when you understand all the facts. Hey, Regina, when you understand all the facts. Hey, Kinsley, what you don't understand can hurt you. So being ignorant, that's a choice most of the time. A lot of times we're lazy. A lot of times we just don't want to do the work to get the information that we need. And sometimes that hurts us, you guys. So that's why I talk about what you don't understand can hurt you. And our relationships is what I want to talk about today, because our relationships are a vital part of who we are. Who we spend time with, who we love, who we associate with, who we listen to, who we take advice from, who we try to impress. All of that stuff makes up who you are. So it's better that we talk about getting a clear understanding so we can make those relationships better. So if we want more in 2024, we need to improve the relationships that we have in our life. Hey, Rashida. And we also need to be open to new relationships, you guys. Make up your mind that you want to be bigger than you were last year. Make up your mind to step outside of the box this year. Don't judge a book by its cover. A lot of times, we stay in a box because it's comfortable. It is very scary stepping out there. It's very scary meeting new people, but it's worth it. It's worth it. That's the only way you're going to grow. That's the only way you're going to expand, who you are, is by going to those places that you're afraid of, facing those giants, that fear. Because a lot of times we're afraid of things that haven't even happened yet. I know that's my issue. I can come up with all kinds of scenarios of what could happen if I do this, if I do that. But God is dealing with me about shutting those voices down and stop being afraid. Face your fears and trust God. You know, that's the thing. You got to trust God. You got to pray about things, and then you got to trust God that he's going to work it out, or trust God that he's going to protect you. You know, we're going to get hurt sometimes, you guys. But one thing about it, Jesus was hurt, you know, while he walked this earth. So that's not unusual. You know, that's just part of life. You know, people are going to deceive us. People are going to let us down. People are going to break our hearts from time to time. But all of that is something that we can always learn from. So, like I said before, you know, don't remember the hurt. Remember the lesson. Don't hold the grudges. You know, get the lesson out of it and let people go. And think about this, you guys. How much better would it be if each of us was willing to admit that we don't know everything? You know, how open would we be if we were honest about the fact that we don't know everything? You know, we don't have the answers to everything. We don't understand everything. Number two, what would your home life, I'm talking about in your house, be if you chose to listen more than you speak? You know, a lot of times we want to just take over the conversation. We want to roar our way, you know, to get our way. But that's not how it's supposed to be done. That's not effective communication. And nobody really gets anything out of that. People tend to just go along with you just because they want you to be quiet. And that's not the kind of communication we want, because somebody always loses in that interaction. And number three, how much better would our relationships be if we applied, I created an acronym, you guys. It's called LAURA. L-A-R-A, just like the name Laura. And what it means is L, learn, A, acknowledge, R, respect, and A, appreciate. What if we applied that to our relationships? We learn, we acknowledge, we respect, and we appreciate. You know, most relationships fall apart because of lack of understanding and pride, you guys. You know, I think back when I was married, just all the pride that was there, you know, and I ask God all the time, you know, what is it that I can do to kind of knock down some of the pride that my husband had? You know, he was not one to say I'm sorry. He was not one to say I was wrong. And all I did was keep praying about that. But God has to be the one to humble people. You can pray about it all you want, but until God humbles people, some people will never give over their pride and submit to God, or even submit to you. So those are the words we want to talk about today. We want to talk about learn, acknowledge, respect, and appreciate. And our background scripture for today, you guys, is Proverbs 4:7. It says, wisdom is the principal thing. Therefore, get wisdom, and with thy getting, get an understanding. See, God doesn't even want us to be ignorant. It's not okay for you to have a misunderstanding or not know something and say, oh, well, I ain't gonna worry about it. That's not okay. God didn't create us to be like that. God created us to be relational, you know, because if relationships weren't important to God, he would have never created Eve to be with Adam. But that's how significant the relationships in your life really are, and how much they make up who you are. Let's talk about our first letter, learn. In relationships, these are the things we need to learn, whether it's in friendships, whether it's in romantic relationships. You need to learn people's childhood history. Learn their history, preferably before you get into a romantic relationship, you know, because you need to know what kind of scars you're going to be dealing with. You need to know if that person is healed. You need to know, you know, if that person is repeating behaviors from his past. Just like this, prime example, a man that's grown up in a household where the dad has been physical with everybody, they're more likely to be physical with their children and with their wife. So you have to know people's childhood history. Women that grew up in a all-female household with women that were just controlling and gossipers and had to have the last word. Those things carry on into adulthood. So you need to know, what childhood trauma people are dealing with. So you can decide if you have the right spirit to be in that person's life, because everybody can't handle your stuff. Everybody can't carry my bags. Everybody can't carry your bags. So it's important that the people that are in your life, they learn you and ask questions about your past, so they can help you heal. Sometimes people just need to finally be able to tell somebody what happened to them when they were 10, or that they were molested, or that, they had been abused, physically abused, or that they were bullied. Sometimes they have nobody that they can tell those things to, and they've kept those things to themselves their whole life. That's why you need to learn people. Take the time to find out about their history. Share your history. Make them comfortable and let them know whatever they share is safe with you. You need to also learn about people's relationship history. It takes two to make a thing go wrong. And so there is no such thing as it being all somebody else's fault. Like they say, there's three sides of the story: his side, her side, and then there's the truth. When you learn people, you find out, what went wrong in their last relationship, those tendencies that they have, whether they sabotage their relationships when they get too close. We talked about that before, how some of us, we get so nervous, when things are going good, we start sabotaging it because we'd rather go on and wreck it now than have it wrecked later because we want to control something. Those are the things you need to learn about people, because if they haven't been healed from those things, they're going to carry that stuff into your relationship. If they were a cheater and got all kinds of excuses why they cheated, instead of "I was wrong for doing that and I don't want to be that kind of person," if those words don't come out, they are destined to do that again, because that's some learned behavior, that they have inside of them. And that's what they've done in their previous relationships. So we need to learn those things about people, especially when you're talking about a romantic relationship. And even in your friendships, be careful about, not knowing, that your homeboy might be using you, as his alibi while he cheats on somebody else. Understand that about people. If you know that they get into stuff, you might want to distance yourself if that's not what you're about. So you need to understand people's relationship history, relationship with their parents. How do they get along with their siblings? All of that stuff. You need to learn who people are so that you can be a benefit to them and so they can be a blessing to you as well. Another thing we need to learn about one another is our love preferences. I did a whole series on love languages. Everybody's love language is not like yours. And sometimes people get their feelings hurt because they expect the other person to be just like them. They expect that other person to love like them. They expect that other person to give like them. You need to take the time to learn people's love languages so there won't be a misunderstanding. You won't always be getting your feelings hurt. You won't be thinking, "Oh, well, they really don't like me, because they don't do this, and when I did this, they didn't respond the way I wanted them to." Everybody's not you, and you have to be okay with that. That's why you have to take the time to learn people, to learn how they love. Hey, Anita. Hey, Chiquita. You have to learn how people love and what their love language is. And then for those that are coming in late, I'm going over an acronym called LARA, L-A-R-A, which is Learn, Acknowledge, Respect, and Appreciate. And we're on L, Learn. You need to learn that other person's viewpoints. If every time they disagree with you, you get upset, you really don't know that person. And if you don't understand where they're coming from, if you haven't been through what they've been through, there's going to be a lot of miscommunication. Sorry, y'all. lot of miscommunication and a lot of misunderstandings in your life. That's why it's good to know somebody's history, to spend time with people, to learn why they think the way that they think, because that'll cut out a lot of those misunderstandings. And you've got to be willing to learn another person's viewpoint. They may handle situations totally different from you. That doesn't make them wrong, and that doesn't make you right. We have got to learn to get to know one another instead of expecting everybody to be the way we are. And this will also help you resolve conflicts in a respectful and a constructive manner. And love without understanding, you guys, is incomplete. I don't care how much you say you love somebody. If you really don't know them, you really don't understand them, something's missing from your relationship. There's a big chunk that's missing from your relationship. And that's important. Love is not enough if you're going to be in a relationship for a long time with somebody. You have got to get some understanding so that you won't always be mad. They won't always be mad. You know, there won't be this division with you guys. Get an understanding, because love without understanding is incomplete. And then learn about their dreams and their future plans. The worst thing that could happen is you're in a relationship with somebody and you're thinking they're going one direction, but you never took the time to ask them what they wanted. You just know what you wanted, so you just pulled them into it. And then you get upset when they don't want the same things that you want, or what they want is more than what you want to deal with. So that's why you got to learn these things as often as you can. Spend enough time with people to know if you fit, because everything is not what it seems, you guys. And the reason we get fooled so much about people is simply because we don't take the time to sit down and talk. We want to text everybody. We want to video chat everybody real quick. You know, we don't take time to actually sit down and watch people's body language and look people eye to eye and have deep conversations anymore. And that's why relationships don't seem to last. And then another thing we need to learn what they believe in and what they stand for. You know, one thing I've learned about people is, you know, a lot of times people will go along to get along, and they may not even be feeling the same way you're feeling about something. That's the worst thing, is to try to go along with people because you don't want to be the one that rocks the boat, or you don't want to be the one, you know, that says, you know what, I really don't like that. But that's part of being an individual. That's part of being who you are. You need to speak up if you're not into some things that other people are into. That's why it's important for you to learn the people around you, because they'll pull you into some stuff where you're uncomfortable, where you're unhappy, where you feel like, you know, I wish I had never shown up. Don't allow yourself to get into those situations. Learn the people that you're dealing with, you guys, and learn what they stand for and what they believe in. And like I said before, love won't be enough to keep a relationship on its own. Healthy relationships involve honesty, trust, respect, and open communication. That's relationships with your children. You got to be honest with these kids. Quit lying to these kids. You know, a lot of times they won't tell you things because they feel like you're going to look down on them or you're going to fuss at them. We need to remind these children that we were once children. We understand the pressure. We understand that you're not going to get it right all the time. You have got to have honest, trustworthy, and respectful communication with whoever you're dealing with, even with your friends. If that friend is going to be the kind of friend that you can count on when you can't count on nobody else, you're going to have to be honest with them. They're going to have to get to know you and know that you're worth whatever they got to go through with you. Because a lot of times people ain't trying to get off in that mess with you, but when you got somebody that really knows you, they will walk through hell and high water for you. They will be there when nobody else will. They will stand up for you when everybody else is against you. And that's only because they've taken the time to learn who you really are. And in a healthy relationship, you guys, I'm telling you this, husbands and wives, in a healthy relationship, there is nobody in charge. There's no imbalance of power. Everybody respects everybody in a relationship. That's when you got a healthy relationship. It's not so much, you're the man, I tell you what to do, this, that, and the other. When you're in a healthy relationship, you don't have any problems with submission. You don't have any problems with respect, because y'all value each other's independence. That's why you have to be your own person before you get into a relationship. Be who you need to be, and then let that person be who they need to be, and then y'all come together. That's how you have a healthy relationship. And then respect one another. I can't say that enough. I've heard so many women disrespect their husband, behind their back with the things they've said, and the things that they've done, and then you wonder why you're unhappy. God don't like ugly, you guys. When you get married, and you make those vows, okay, so that means some days I'm not going to like him, but that doesn't mean I go and talk to other people about him. Same thing with your friends. There's going to be days when you're not going to like your true friend, but that doesn't mean that you call up somebody else and say, girl, I'm about sick of so-and-so. She getting on my nerves, blah, 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 blah. I hate the way she does that. That's not a true friend. That's just somebody that's just riding along, you guys. A true friend or a true partner, no matter what's going on, they're not going to badmouth the other. The respect has always got to be there. And then we need to understand each other's emotions. This person may not cry about the same things you cry about. This person may not get mad about the same things you get mad about. So don't get upset with them because they're not as emotional as you are. That's why you need to take the time to learn how people react to certain things, because they may not be made up just like you, but that's okay. That's what makes them them, and that's what makes you you. And let's move on to A, which is acknowledge. Understand, it's not always about you, in a relationship. I can't stand when people always twist things around to where they're the victim. It's not always about you. And you have to acknowledge that you're not the only person in this relationship. Your feelings matter, but so does that other person. And everybody needs to know that they matter. And the way that they feel and the way that they hurt matters. And there needs to be words of affirmation. Acknowledge that person. Tell them, I appreciate you. I see you. I see what you're doing over there. I see you taking care of business over there. It only takes a few seconds to say that, or send a text message with a smiley face. I saw you, you cooking breakfast this morning. That's what's up. Breakfast was great. Acknowledge what people do for you. Acknowledge, people get so comfortable in a relationship, and it becomes, to the point where they just expect you to do this, expect you to do that. Even if you feel like that is your role, you still want to be acknowledged for it. Tell me I did a good job. Tell me, that can't nobody cook that like I do. Acknowledge that. Do things to make one another smile on the inside, and let that person know, I'm not just doing this in vain. Somebody's paying attention to what I'm doing. They see how I'm handling my business. That's what you want. Learn to acknowledge one another. And our relationships are our foundation. Just like our relationship with God. Our relationship with God is our foundation. That's why he says acknowledge him. He wants you to recognize him and say, you know what, God, I couldn't have done this without you. When you swerve and miss a car that was coming in your lane, acknowledge God for that. That was God's protection. When God lets the sun come out, when you've had a bunch of rainy days, acknowledge that. God just wants you to know and wants to feel like you appreciate what he does, the big things and the little things. And we're made up just like God. We want to be appreciated. There are people that they'll never say anything, but as soon as you acknowledge what they do, you ought to just see them light up. You know, they're not fishing for compliments or whatever, but you can tell it does something to them when you say, you know what, you did a great job on such and such and such and such. And you just start seeing them just get warm all over and get that big smile. And I appreciate that. Thank you. I appreciate that. You know, men are like that. There are some men like that. You know, they don't fish for compliments, but when you do, let them know that you appreciate what they did, or I acknowledge, you know, how well you keep my yard cut, this, that, and the other. It does something to them. It makes them want to do more for you. And I believe that we're all like that in some way. You know, the more you appreciate what we do, the more you acknowledge what we do, makes us want to keep going and keep doing better. And the same thing with our children. You know, that's what the grading system is. You know, when I was little, you know, I used to get allowance. It wasn't a lot of money, but it acknowledged the fact that I had worked hard. You know, my parents didn't have to give me an allowance, but just that little bit that they did give me made me want to work harder the next 6 weeks. You know, it's that same principle. You know, just somebody seeing you, that they're not ignoring, you know, the good that you're doing, that you're really trying. And most of the time, people just want you to see, I'm trying. I'm not perfect. I don't have it all together, but just see that I'm trying. And we need to do more of recognizing people, recognizing our sisters when we see them moving forward, recognizing when you see them trying to better their life. A lot of times we stay quiet about the wrong things, and we talk about stuff we don't have any business talking about. Why don't we try uplifting each other and just appreciating each other and patting one another on the back? Because life is hard, y'all. It takes a lot of effort to do what we do and do it well. So it's nice to be acknowledged sometimes. It's nice to be, you know, recognized and be told that I see you. And a lot of times in relationships, that's what happens. You know, people start taking people for granted, and then people get tired, and then people decide it doesn't matter anyway. So they just stop trying. And it's really sad because we see that more than we see the other side of the coin. And then thinking about how toxic relationships affect us, you guys. You know, being at war or in a bad relationship, it affects everything that you try to do. It affected everything that I tried to do, no matter how I tried to smile. When I was in a bad relationship or a toxic relationship, where I felt like, you know, I was coming home, you know, to war and always having to fight and couldn't sleep. You know, I always tried to put on a brave face when I came out in public. And most of the time I could fool most people, but people who really, really knew me, when they saw me, when I would say I was okay, they'd be like, no, you're not. No, you're not. Come here. Let me talk to you. No, you're not. Because some things you just can't hide, no matter how hard you try. Because when you're in a situation for a negative situation for a prolonged period of time, you start wearing that thing. No matter how much you try to dress up, no matter how much makeup you put on, you do wear it. It's like chains around your neck when you're having a fight all the time, or when you're in a relationship that's dragging you backwards instead of taking you to a higher level. And it affects your mood. You know, you get agitated easily when you're already been fighting all the time, when you're already, you know, just stressed to the max, you know, and you feel like you can't get anything right, you know, or you're afraid to do something because you feel like you're going to upset somebody. That's what those toxic relationships will do to you. They affect your mood. And you'll find that one minute you're happy, the next minute you might be crying, the next minute you feel confused. You don't know what to do. I've been there. And then it also affects your personality. You know, you become sad on the inside, and then it starts showing on the outside. You know, you're just not yourself anymore. You're not that joyful person. You're not that person that everybody, you know, gets excited about when you've gone through prolonged relationships with toxic people. Your productivity level decreases, because you can't think, you can't be creative when you're fighting, not getting any sleep, or you're in bad situations, living situations, or you're in an abusive situation. You can't be productive. It's going to show up. It's probably going to show up at your work. You're not going to be that person that you can be, because you're using all your energy to just survive the day. And then your drive and your desire, it diminishes when you're in a toxic relationship. Things that you used to think about doing, you don't do it. And I know when I was in that type of relationship, hey, Sandra, I didn't want to be embarrassed in front of my friends, so I withdrew from my own friends. I withdrew from my family because I didn't want them to see him acting up, because I was ashamed of it. I was embarrassed by it. So your drive and your desire diminishes when you stay in a relationship that's too toxic for you. And your energy level, like I said before, you're tired all the time because you have to use all your reserve to fight and be in this argument and try to keep everybody, from being upset, and trying to have a peaceful day when that other person doesn't want to be peaceful, and trying not to mess up. That's exhausting. And I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. Being at war or in a toxic relationship can affect everything about you. You won't even recognize yourself. And I told y'all that story about me, how it had gotten to that point where I looked in the mirror and I didn't even know who I was. And that's what broke me. And that's what made me start working on my change and working on my exit strategy. Anyway, what all good relationships require, you guys, is understanding. They need to understand you, and you need to understand them. So let's go to R, you guys. R is for respect. How do you respect somebody? Number one, pay close attention to the person's words. There's nothing like somebody just half listening to you, because you just want to end the conversation. Well, if you're too busy to listen, then why did you act like you were going to listen? I mean, it's a lot of things you can catch just by paying attention to a person's word. And that's showing them respect, because you are trying to understand where they're coming from. Number two, listen more than you speak. Number three, put yourself in their shoes. Don't be a judge. The Bible talks about judge not so that you won't be judged. Quit judging other people. Put yourself in their shoes. That's how you show respect, because you don't know what you would do if you were in that situation. You can speculate all you want to. I'm a living witness. There's some stuff I've gotten myself into, and I said, Lord, I don't know how I got here. And I had seen other people in it, and I'm like, I don't know how she got there. Well, I found out I got there. So you put yourself in other people's shoes, and that'll keep you from being so critical towards them. And that'll also help you show some respect and compassion for them. Number four, honor the other person's boundaries. When people tell you that something bothers them, or they tell you they need some time to themselves, there is nothing worse than a person hearing that and then ignoring that. They don't respect you, because the boundaries are there for a reason. The boundaries came from trial and error. The boundaries came from not having boundaries and realizing that you needed boundaries, because that was self-preservation. So the fact that you don't honor my boundaries says you don't care how I'm doing. All you want is what you want. So respect means honoring the other person's boundaries, even if you don't agree with them. It's not for you to agree. That's their boundaries. They're there for a reason. Number five, support that person's passions. Support your friend's passion. When you see them trying to do something, get on board with them. Let them know that you got their back. Let them know that you will support them. That shows respect, because a lot of times people spend their life not trying to do anything. And there's nothing worse than a person that doesn't ever do anything with their life trying to, sabotage somebody that is trying to do something different. Number six, talk kindly about that person to others. Just like I said before, show respect in front of their face and show respect behind their back. Point taken. No more explanation needed. And there are 3 things needed in a healthy relationship, you guys. Mutual respect, mutual trust, and mutual affection. You gotta have those 3 things if you want a healthy relationship. One person can't love the other person more than the other one can't respect one more than the other, or the one give more affection than the other. Anything that's like that is off balance, and it's going to tip over at some point, and it's going to run over, and it's going to ruin. So you have to have mutual respect, mutual trust, and mutual affection if you want to have a healthy relationship. Number 7, always work on ways to strengthen your communication. If you respect your relationship, if you respect that person, you ought to always want to find better ways of being closer, of being more connected to that person. That means you may have to learn from the expert. You may have to go to a seminar. You may have to go to retreats. You may have to read some books on communication, because I dare say most of us do not know how to communicate. Number 1 is me. I'm learning how to communicate with the opposite sex. I'm learning how to communicate in a relationship. That was not taught to me. Hey, Christia, that was not taught to me. So I'm having to learn those things even at my age, because I want to be effective. I want to be that person that people want to be around. I want to be that person that when God does send me a husband, that he wants to come home to. I don't want him dreading coming home to me because I don't know how to talk to him. I don't know how to conversate with him. I'm putting undue stress on him. I don't want to be that person. And God has to teach me some things to prepare me to not be that person, because that's the kind of stuff I grew up in as a child, just drama and loudness and violence. So God has to work those things out of me, and I have to be willing to learn something new. So learn how to communicate. Like I said in the beginning, you've got to first of all admit that you don't know everything. I said, God, you are taking me back to scratch on a whole lot of things, and I'm thankful for it, because a lot of things I've had to erase everything I know and let God deal with me from scratch. And scratch is a good place, because scratch means I'm dependent on God. Scratch means I want to let go of everything I think I know, and I want to learn it the right way. Number 8, relationships require regular maintenance, you guys, if you want them to last. We'll maintain our vehicles, we'll maintain our house, but we don't do the necessary things to maintain our relationship. Those friendships, y'all got to get together sometime. Y'all got to spend some quality time together. You can't be too busy all the time, and then all of a sudden you wonder why your friendships have fallen off. You've got to make time to have events together. You got to make time to go places together. You got to make time to have conversations with one another. It doesn't have to be all the time, but you're going to have to do some maintenance. You can't go years and years and then expect you guys to be as close as you might want to be, because you haven't put in the work. And even in our marriages, you guys, that's a constant maintenance when it comes to marriage, because people get comfortable. And when people get comfortable, things fall off. You need to see your marriage as your second job, to where you don't want anything to fall off when it comes to your marriage. You don't want to leave any room for the enemy to come in between your marriage. And you're going to have to do maintenance. You're going to have to go to God about something. He will deal with you on every aspect of your marriage and what you need to do to make sure those areas are covered. Number 9, make your partner, your children, your friends, make them proud to have you in their life. Sometimes people act a fool. They done got too old for some of the stuff that they doing, just embarrassing themselves, just clowning. And you make people ashamed of you. You make people ashamed to call you their friend. You make your children ashamed to call you their mother. The Bible talks about how a Proverbs 31 woman, her husband is proud of her reputation. That's the way it should be when it comes to our friends, our children, our spouses. If you respect them, respect the fact that what you do doesn't just affect you, it affects them too. Because if you're not thinking about those things, you're being very disrespectful to the people that love you and the people that call you friend. Because you should not do anything that's going to make them ashamed to say, I know you, or ashamed to say, that's my wife or that's my husband. Show enough respect to remember everything that you do affects not only you, but it affects the people that love you. Number 10, recognize and respect that we're all equal, and it takes everybody working together to make relationships last. Like I said before, there is no shift of power in a real relationship. Everybody is important. Everybody is needed. Everybody has a role to play. That's that respect level. And we expect everybody to do what they're supposed to do. We hold each other accountable. That's showing respect. And learn each other's areas of strength and allow that person to manage that area. If you know you're bad with money and your husband is good with money, let him handle the finances. If you know that you're the planner, you're the one that can get the vacations together in your group of friends, you do the planning and then share everything with everybody else. Everybody can't do what you do. And it's not because there's something wrong with them. That's just not their area of strength. We need to respect people's area of strength. And like I said before, stop expecting them to be you. And let everybody operate in the area that they're strong in. And 12, in order to stay respectful to one another, do not try to have a discussion when you're angry. That's the worst thing you can do. That is the devil's playground. When you're already heated and hot and emotions are high, that is the worst time to try to talk to somebody, because number one, you're going to say things you can't take back. Number two, you're only going to see your side of the situation. You won't be thinking clearly because your emotions are high. You're upset. That is why you need to be mature enough to say, I can't talk right now. I'm upset. I need a little time. And respect that person when they say that. And demand that they respect you and give you your space when that comes in. And therefore, there won't be times where you're disrespectful and calling people out of their names and mistreating people, because you can't walk that stuff back. Once you let that stuff come out of your mouth, they might forgive you, but I promise you, they will never forget what you said. I still remember stuff that was said to me when I was a child. I remember stuff that was said to me in my marriage. I remember that stuff. No matter how I try to let it go, it still has a hurtful place in my life, because some things should have never been said. Some things should have never been done. And my last A in Laura, you guys, is appreciate. How do you appreciate people? You, number one, put your thoughts into action. If you're thinking about somebody, if you're thinking about doing something for somebody, a thought is only as good as the action. I hate it when people say, I thought about doing that. I thought about sending her flowers. I thought about doing that. What stopped you? Nothing but you. Nothing but you. If you think about it, do it. If you're able to do it, do it. Number two, don't wait for somebody to leave before you miss them or treat them well. That happens in a lot of relationships, y'all. Until that person starts packing their stuff and walking out the door, you don't even appreciate how much they brought into your life. Why wait until they're leaving? Because a lot of times that they're leaving, it's past the threshold of saying, please don't go, or I'm sorry, or I need you. When you allow them to get to that point where they feel like they have to leave, that's on you. You can't blame anybody but yourself. So don't wait for someone to leave for you to miss them or treat them well. Same thing when people die. It beats all I've ever seen. People that come to a funeral and they fall out, and I understand grief. I get grief. But the ones that didn't take care of what they needed to with that person, that deceased person, never said they were sorry for stuff, never tried to patch up, an old grudge, or never tried to fix a relationship that was broken. And I watched them just fall over and almost faint and this, that, and the other. And part of me gets angry when I see that, because you had time to get it right. You have time. If you got breath in your mouth and in your body right now, you got time to make up with everybody you got a problem with. There is zero excuse for that. There is no excuse for it. And waiting for that person to be laid out in front of a church is ridiculous, because it's too late. There's no room for fixing anything. There's no repair when we get to that point. So let's stop being the kind of people that wait for something bad to happen or for somebody to leave us before we try to get things right. Let's get it right now while we can. Number 3, third way you appreciate somebody is offer your assistance. Don't let one person carry all of the weight just because they can. People will use and abuse you sometimes when you're good and when you do things, with excellence and you're flawless with it. That doesn't mean that you allow them to do things by themselves all the time. Everybody needs help, even if they don't ask for it, you guys. Show you appreciate somebody by offering your assistance, because those good people that do good things, that do things well, they get tired just like you do. So if you really appreciate them, offer to help them, assist them where you can. Number 4, allow people to have some downtime, some me time, because everybody needs to reset. If you really appreciate them, give them their downtime. Give them time alone. Give them their vacation time. Leave them alone so that they can continue to be the person they need to be. It's when everybody wants everything from you at the same time and don't feel like you ever get tired. That's how you wear people out, and that's how you lose your friendships, and that's how you make people avoid even being in your presence, because they know whenever they see you, there's something more that they want. That you're always taking. That's what I need to say. You're always taking and never giving. Number 5, when you give somebody a gift, make it personal. If you appreciate that person, don't get them some generic gift. Get them something personal that says something about their personality or something about how you feel about that person. Take more time in choosing your gifts. Let people know that they mean something to you. Okay? Number 6, honor instead of dismissing other people's feelings. Just because you're strong about some things or some things wouldn't bother you, the worst thing you can do is just say, oh, girl, shake that off. You'll be all right. You need to understand, take the time to talk to them and see where their feelings are and see why they feel the way they feel. Don't just dismiss them because you feel like, oh, that's little, that's nothing. What's nothing to you may be a giant to them. So let's start honoring people instead of dismissing their feelings. Number 7, if you appreciate somebody, actively listen. Stop what you're doing when they're talking to you and let them know they have your undivided attention. There's nothing like you trying to talk to somebody and they're doing a bunch of other stuff and they keep saying, what'd you say? Huh? Okay, say that again. Huh? I'm done with the conversation. If I got to keep doing all that repetition, I can't stand that. I hate to repeat myself. But if you really appreciate them, stop what you're doing. If you only have a certain amount of time, say, hey, sis, I got about 15 minutes. You got my undivided attention. Use those words. You have my undivided attention. That means I'm carving this part of my life out just for you, this time just for you. I'm putting aside everything I got to do. That's when somebody knows that you really appreciate them. When you stop what you're doing and you make time just for them. No multitasking, no phone buzzing, no texting, make time just for them if you really appreciate them. Because otherwise, you're only halfway listening and you will not get a clear understanding of what they're saying. You know, our children, those of us that have raised children, our children used to love to come ask us permission for stuff when they saw we were busy. They're smart because they know you half listening before you know it because you're so caught up in this and they mama, 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 mama. You're just like, go on, fine. And you don't even know what you've given them permission to until later on. So let's not be the kind of person that makes people feel like what they got to say is not important. If you care about them, if you appreciate them, stop what you're doing and give them your undivided. That means you don't divide that time with nobody. That's their time. Give them that time. And then 8, if you really appreciate them, do frequent small gestures just to show your appreciation. You ain't got to spend a lot of money. Send them a little card. Send them a really nice text message. Send them a flower here, there, the other. You know, it don't take that much to show somebody that you really appreciate them, you guys. You just got to want to do it. And you got to want to put in the work. But that's Laura, you know, learning, acknowledging, respecting, and appreciating. That's what holds relationships together, whether it's relationships with your children, with your spouse, with your friends. You need all of those elements in order to make a relationship healthy and make a relationship last. And you guys, my final thought is, it's never too late to do a better job of being a good husband or wife, mother or father, friend, or even a good business associate. Because our relationships shape our world. We need to learn, acknowledge, respect, and appreciate one another. If we want the relationships to last, the key is understanding. Because what you don't know or you're not willing to learn can hurt you. Thank you guys for watching. I love you guys. And I pray you have a wonderful weekend ahead. Y'all stay safe, stay COVID free, and y'all take care of yourselves. Talk to you later. Bye.